Hello friends, welcome to Java Swing tutorial. Now we are in part 3 of the JProgressBar control video. So we saw about JProgressBar in the part 1. Then we talk about the example in part 2. Now it's a demo time. Now we will open the Eclipse Oxygen. So here is our example, and as usual we just change the size and position. Then we set layout as a border layout. So that's the variation from the very first video of this series. Now if I run this, I can see the frame window appearing like this. So our top panel consists of two components. One is the label and another one is the progress bar control. You can see that here in the picture. So this one is the top panel, and the top panel contains two. One is the label that just tells progress bar demo. Then we have a progress bar. So first we are importing the panels. Then grid layout, we are importing it from AWT. Color also AWT component, we are importing it. So if you see here, we are creating two panels. One is the top panel and another one is mid panel. So both uses a grid layout. Why? Because so this one is our top panel. So if you see, our top panel requires two things. One is a label and another one is progress. That's why we set two rows, one column. Row 1, row 2 and one column. So 2, 1. So our top panel is ready, and we set a grid layout for that top panel with a 2 row, 1 column. Then we are setting a back color as black for that top panel. Then we are creating middle panel with 4 cross run. That means 4 rows, 1 column. And if you see here, this will be our mid panel, and there are 4 rows here to accommodate 4 components. So that's why we set 4 rows, 1 column. So totally we have 2 panels. This one is the top panel and this one is the mid panel, and these panels are ready now. Now we will go to class level and declare our progress bar control. The color for the progress default. Why? Because when we want to check this one, blue when checked, so we want to change the default color of the progress bar. But when we uncheck it, we need to restore the original swing's background color, or the swing default background color for the progress bar. So that's why here we are declaring a color member. So this will store the default progress color. Alright, now we will prepare our top panel. First we will import the required components. We need a label, so we are importing it. Swing constant, then JProgressBar. Alright, so if you see here, JLabel, new JLabel ProgressBar demo. So this is the label which is displayed in the top portion, and if you see this ProgressBar demo, so that label we created it here. Then we are setting the foreground color as white. And if you see, the label appears in white color. So we set foreground color as white. After that, alignment, we are making it as swing constant dot center. So in the screenshot, if you saw the, okay, see here, it's aligned towards the center. So this is the entire width of the label, but the display string of the label is in the center. Alright, our label is ready. Then we are creating the JProgressBar. So this is the class name, JProgressBar. We are creating it with a empty constructor. Then we are setting the value as 0. That means when progress bar is displayed, the progress value is set to the initial position. And if you see here, this is the initial position. So we are setting the value as 0%. That means you will see entire progress bar in this color. The blue is not yet started because the value is at 0. This one, get foreground, progress.get foreground. We are making use of this function because we want to know the default color of the progress. So we are storing that here in the progress default. So this will be helpful when we want to switch from blue color to the default swing progress bar color. Alright, everything is ready now. Progress bar also ready, we created it, and the label also created it. Label we set foreground and horizontal alignment. For progress bar we set initial value as 0. That's also only the custom change here is setting the value. This one we just retrieve the foreground color for later use. Then we make use of the add method on the top panel. So here is the top panel. It can hold 2 component, 2 cross 1, 2 into 1, 2 component, 2 rows, 1 column. So we are adding label first. That's why the label is appearing first here in the progress bar. I mean the top panel in the grid. This is the top panel which implies a grid layout. So in the grid layout, first still we are storing the label, then progress control. And if you see here, here's the label and the progress control, we are storing it. Next, if you see, here's the top panel, and the top panel we are adding it to the frames north, because the frame is using the border layout. You can see there are two component, top level component involved here. One is our JFrame demo. This is the JFrame demo, which is derived from JFrame that uses the border layout. Then we created a top panel, and the top panel uses the grid layout. So after adding these two components, label and progress bar, to the top panel, we are adding the top panel to the control host. Here control host is get content pane we already called on JFrame. That's the control host. That means we are adding it to the frame window. Now top portion of the frame window is ready. We can run it once and see how it appears. So you can see this is the progress bar, the progress bar label, and this one is our JProgress. Since we set in 0 as initial, you can see it is appearing here. That means the progress is at its initial position. Next, we will prepare our middle panel. Middle panel, if you see, we allocated 4 class 1. That means we allocated 4 cell. That means we will create 4 controls. One is the checkbox. Okay. 3 checkboxes and 1 command button. I mean the J button. So this grid has 4, right? 4 class 1. So we will place all these 4 components in the second grid. That means which is employed by the middle panel. So checkbox, we are taking it from javax.swing package. And if you see here, we created 4 checkboxes. For the constructor, we just passed the string maximum 500 when checked, or maximum is 100. That means when it is unchecked. So blue when checked, then paint progress string. So these are all the checkboxes we created for the demo, and you can see these checkboxes. Then we need one J button also, so we are creating that. So all 4 Java component or controls are ready by this time. Next, we are adding those to the middle panel, and you can look at the order. First, we are adding the CHK max, then color, then paint. After adding all 3 checkboxes, we are adding the J button. Finally, we are adding this mid panel to our control host. Here we specified the location as north. Here we doesn't specify the location. That means it will take border layout.center. That's the default for border layout. So here, since the frame window is using the border layout, we added the first panel towards the north and second panel towards the mid. So by this time, if I run it, you can see the frame window is ready with all the controls. Now we need to handle the event. First, we will go with the click event of this button. So what we want to do, when we make a click, on each click we want to increment this progress bar, so that you can mimic this as a long running task, and you can see how progress bar is changing its appearance. Alright, now we will handle the button click event. So btn dot add action listener, then I'm placing new control space, choose anonymous inner type, double click that, and we will land into the handler function. So when we click this button multiple times, let's say we know that at this stage the progress is at its initial position 0. So here we set value to 0. So when I click here, it should increment in steps, let's say 10. So it should increment 10. But when I click second time, it should go to 20. That means first we need to get the current value from the progress bar. That will return 10. I mean, I'm talking about the second click. So it will return 10. Then we should append the next step increment plus 10 to the progress. So first we need to get a value to do that. That will give 10. Add one more 10. So it will give 20, then set it back. So that's what we are going to do now. And if you see, we are making use of the progress bar dot get value. So that will give what is the current value in the progress bar. Then we are making use of the set and we are incrementing it. So first we are getting value, then we are incrementing it, then we are setting it back. At this stage we can check the click event. So if you see blue when checked, so this is in unchecked state, that means you will see the background color as the default background color of JProgress component, and paint string is not turned on, so you won't see any progress label here. So let me click it multiple times. Let me click it for 5 times so that you will see it will get increased to 50%. So now the progress bar is at 50%. Alright, so here we just mimicked the process, we clicked it manually, but in real time when some long running task changes, the progress bar will increment just like what we did here manually. So it will increment and it will show the progress to the user. So for example, some file copy operation is going on, the progress bar will increase just like this. So when it is towards the end, user will be at the impression of the task is about to finish. Alright, now we will go ahead and handle the checkbox events one by one. First we will take this CHK max. Add item listener, new, anonymous inner type, item event, and you can see the item listener is ready. I mean the skeleton code is ready. So in the item state change the event, first we are setting the default to 10. Why? Because we are alternating between 100 and 500 as maximum value. So we want to cancel the current progress, or we want to set it to the initial 10. So you can completely skip this. Just for demo purpose, we kept it as a 10 when we switch between maximum of 100 to maximum of 500. So when the checkbox is checked, we make use of the set maximum function and we are setting it as 500. Otherwise, we are setting it as 100. Now at this stage, let me do the step increment. So now I am at a 50% interval, but I am changing the maximum to 500 now. And if you see, the 5 click will produce a very small amount of increment. Why? Because we set maximum as 500. So we implemented the item listener for one checkbox. The same way you have to implement it for other 2 checkboxes as well. And here if you see, we kept a skeleton code for other 2 checkboxes. This one is for changing the foreground, and this one is for showing the paint labels. So when the color checkbox is selected, we are setting the foreground color to blue, and when we uncheck this, we are setting it to the progress default. And if you see, we already got the progress default here. when we are preparing the control, that time itself we store the progress default as a class member. Now in the event of chk color, I mean in the anonymous inner class for this item listener, we are making use of that progress default and setting the foreground. So when check mark is ticked, we set blue as the background, otherwise we go to the default. Finally, we handle our last checkbox event, item state change. So when the checkbox paint checkbox is checked, we are asking to set the string painted to true. So we make use of the function called set string painted on the JProgress control, and we are setting it to true. When the check mark is not placed on the chk paint, then we are setting false. That means it won't show any progress label in the progress bar. So we will experiment these two now. And if you see here, first let's mimic the long running task. So I clicked it 2 times, and by this time you can see the progress bar background color. Now when I place the check mark here, you can see the background color got changed to blue. So this is the default color, and this one is the color we customized it. Now when I tick this, it will make use of set string painted to true, and it will show the progress percentage as a 60, because the progress bar value is at 60 now. Let me place a check mark here, and if you see, the increments are in 2, but when I remove it, the increments are in 10. So that depends based on what maximum values we set to the progress bar. It also depends on what is the minimum value. Here the minimum value we left it as default, so it's 0. When I place check mark, it will be at 100. So since the paint progress string is ticked here, we show the progress percentage. So this will be useful. Most of the progress bar control user will turn this on, so that user will show the progress, and at the same time we know how much percentage of long running task is completed. So that's all in this demo. Now you saw how to use the progress bar control. Here we mimicked the progress change using the button click event, but usually when long running task, whether it is transferring one database to another database, or copying a big file, or some other long running threaded process, at that time you can make use of the progress bar control. So before starting the progress bar control, you have to know, say for example, if it is a file copy operation, you definitely know how many bytes need to be copied from source to destination. Since you know the amount of task in the beginning itself, then you can track it, how many bits are copied. Then based on that you can calculate the progress percentage. After that you can make use of the set value function. So that will show the progress dynamically at runtime. Here we just mimicked it based on the button click event. So just now you watched the demo. That's all in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.